afternoon, everybody. So when you think about the United States, you think about a powerhouse and a world leader. Unfortunately, one of the things you wouldn't think about us leading in is total prison population or prison population rate. So according to the ACLU, America has only 5% of the world's total population, but we imprison over 20% of the world's prisoners. We even have more prisoners than China, and China accounts for a staggering 18% of the world's total population. That's right, we lead in the most prisoners in the entire world. What I'm looking to inform you on today is mass incarceration in America, what it means, and how does it affect you. So, according to the Brennan Center for Justice, mass incarceration began with President Richard Nixon in the 1970s. And what he did was he declared a war on drugs. He made drugs public enemy number one. He ramped up federal enforcement for drugs, and numerous agencies ramped up their efforts. It wasn't until the 1980s, in response to the crack epidemic, that President Ronald Reagan signed into law the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. And, there was a lot of different things, but this act actually increased punishment for nonviolent drug offenses, and this increased punishment was used as a deterrent for drug dealers and drug users. While Ronald Reagan was in office for 8 years, the prison population doubled. And according to the Sentencing Project, since the 1980s, our prison population has increased 500%. So over the past 4 decades, a number of things have come together to continue to increase prison population. So policy changes on a local, state, and federal level, combined with increased policing, surveillance, and punishments, collaboratively have increased our prison population to over 2 million people in America today. So according to the Prison Policy Initiative, police make over 1 million arrests for simple possession of drugs every year. A lot of these drug arrests lead to incarceration in our prisons and our jails. As a former substance abuser and an incarcerated person, I can tell you firsthand that the programs inside of prisons and jail don't offer any sort of treatment. They just are there to house you. So out of the prisoners in jail, the prisoners in jails and prisons today, 85% have admitted to having substance abuse disorders or addictions, and only 11% of those receive any sort of treatment for their addiction. So you're probably wondering by now, if you're not using drugs and you're not incarcerated, what does this mean to you? And how does it affect you? So according to the ACLU, America spends over $80 billion a year to house the incarcerated people. So it puts a strain on our economy, and it's ineffective, and it puts us further into debt. And it's paid for by you, the hardworking taxpayer in America. This money could easily be invested on solutions, rehabs, or treatment, but it's not. Some of the challenges for incarcerated individuals when they re-enter society are food, clothing, shelter, and oftentimes employment. Due to a lot of the challenges they face when they try to re-enter society, they quickly turn back to crime. In conclusion, we've learned that what had started as a war on drugs ended up being a total failure. For the past 4 decades, policies have continued to change, and what this means for you is that until changes are imposed, we will continue to fund mass incarceration instead of investing this money in positive alternatives. Housing opportunities, employment opportunities, and maybe even decriminalization of drugs could possibly help. If everybody was concerned with this issue, then maybe we could come together and work on a solution. I think that we should educate everybody on mass incarceration, and they should understand how this affects our communities. Because not only is the person that's incarcerated affected, but also their family and everybody else in the community. We continue to pay for inmates to be housed, and on average, it costs $20,000 to $80,000 a year to house an inmate. I don't think it was 5 minutes.